Today in the crypto space, we see the market doing pretty good. Bitcoin right around 119,000, Ethereum right around 2,400, and the rest of the crypto space, the altcoins, currently looking for a retracement based on a little bit of a dip on Ethereum. And the question is, how low do we go? And what altcoins do we buy at lower levels? In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to give you a quick update on a very, very interesting project that is definitely cooking up a storm, and that project is called SHIDO. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here. General market right now is looking okay. We see the total market cap right around that $4 trillion mark, definitely rising to the upside. However, guys, as we are in the weekend, leading right into the weekend, we do see that the trading volume has come down a bit. And this is normal. Obviously, market participation takes the weekend off. And that's where we see the order books run a little thin. And the volatility is definitely a lot of manipulation on very thin order books. And just understand that's the nature of the game during the weekend. Now, in addition to that, we are seeing a bit of a retracement, just a tad of a retracement and a bit of sign of weakness, even on Ethereum's part and Bitcoin's part. You know, mostly Bitcoin's been going sideways, so that's fine. It's taking a bit of a coffee break. That's totally cool, because then Ethereum took full advantage. Altcoins took full advantage of that opportunity. Now, Ethereum in the short term, again, guys, just in the short term, Ethereum is taking a bit of a break. I'm seeing a slight momentum shift on lower time frames to the downside. Now, I'm not saying we're coming down for a huge dump here, guys. Remember, only short-term shorts. That's all you should be thinking about if you're going to go short, because the reality is we're still in a very aggressive uptrend at the current moment for Ethereum. So any little dips, any little pullbacks, any little profit-taking opportunities, when you see those pullbacks, is obviously buy the dip opportunities for those bulls, right? We absorb the sell pressure when people take profit, short-term profits. So that's what I'm kind of seeing right now. Ethereum showing a little bit of weakness. Maybe we roll over just a little bit. And then the question is, what happens to the altcoins? You know, there are a lot of good opportunities out there. And of course, looking at the large caps, the mid caps, and the micro caps, little by little, we should see a bit of a money flow scenario. And you can see that at the current moment, a lot of the altcoins have shown a lot of strength. Now, some more than others. And the reality is, big picture, altcoins didn't even really leave the station just yet. There's still a lot of upside potential here. But you can see a lot of the altcoins are down approximately, I would say 4 to 5%, give or take, depending on the project you're looking at. And this is based on the pullback. Now, do we get further pullbacks across this market throughout the weekend, guys? I would say at the current scenario, yes, it's very possible. And then the question is, what do you buy? You know, are you buying the large caps? Of course, a lot of us should be focusing on the large caps. The safety in those large caps are definitely beneficial when you get that volatility, right? But little by little, we're getting signs that we should be risk on. And then the question also is, when do we start looking at lower cap projects, right? Mid caps and small caps. And this is why little by little here on the channel, I'm going to be introducing a lot of other projects that are smaller cap with great opportunities, great fundamentals, great teams, and ultimately looking at diversification, not only within narratives or ecosystems, but also diversification within risk, meaning large caps, mid caps, and micro caps should be included in your portfolio for the up and coming bull run or altcoin season. Okay, so that's that. As you can see, the market in general is pulling back just so slightly. I don't expect any major retracement, but pullbacks, peaks and valleys, ebb and flows along the way definitely have to be taken advantage of. So as you can see, we ran up pretty good, and the rest of the space, as you can see, is down approximately 4%, give or take. All right, guys, so today's video is on SHIDO. I want to talk about SHIDO. I want to give you a quick update on SHIDO. Just full transparency, this video is sponsored by SHIDO. However, guys, you guys know that I've been covering SHIDO for a good while, even before sponsorships and all of that. I liked SHIDO. I liked what it had to offer. Its value proposition, its software solution was definitely there. Completely DeFi. And you guys know that I'm big on the DeFi narrative. And, lately, SHIDO, as usual, is cranking out new additions to its ecosystem. So a powerful ecosystem needs a solid gateway. We've built it, or they've built it. SHIDO's team and have built it. Welcome to SHIDO Gateway, a lightning fast, trustless bridge for your stablecoin assets and personal invitation to join the emerging DeFi ecosystem on SHIDO Network. Now, this bridge has opened up a whole new opportunity here for DeFi within the SHIDO ecosystem. And obviously, we start to speculate on, its tech and how it could be leading the way for further interoperability in this space, because it is definitely necessary to see chains interrelate within the space, because interoperability adds value. And the question is what type of value, and we'll discuss all of this in a second. The gateway connects SHIDO Network, most prominent ecosystem in the industry. Bridge your assets seamlessly and be part of our story from day one. Entire ecosystem is waiting for you. So you can definitely go check it out. There's the SHIDO Gateway, the bridge and all of that. Go check it out. Obviously, there's some good stuff there on their website and so on. But as per usual, guys, you guys know that I do release an infographic. So let's take a look at that infographic. I summarized a bit of the main points. Number one, what is a bridge? Okay, so we got to think about a bridge as literally, as the term suggests, it's a connection. It's a connection between two different parties, or two different networks in this case. And we know that, this space is, especially lately, has introduced many more networks, a lot of L1s out there. And as these L1s come around, a lot of them have their own liquidity associated to it, which means there's capital associated to it. And their ecosystems, for the most part, generally speaking, are very closed systems. Once you onboard capital within the network, within that ecosystem, it generally stays within that ecosystem. It gets locked in, or let's say it gets enclosed within that ecosystem. And over time, here in this space, DeFi has evolved, and we realize that it's very necessary, or it's very useful, especially for the end consumer, to be able to bridge those assets, or that liquidity, that capital, from one ecosystem, right, one network, to another network. And that's definitely very valuable, being able to move data and assets. But most of this concept is moving data. If you think about it, being able to move data from one network to the next. Each blockchain, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and many others, has its own separate system. And this is something that we have to understand. And that system is run by capital and liquidity. And as that liquidity gets introduced into that network, sometimes what we really want to do is use other networks. Even though we do like, let's say, Bitcoin's value proposition or Solana's value proposition, there are other networks that have some value that we maybe want to be able to participate in. But we don't want our capital to be locked up, or basically encapsulated within a network. We want to be able to frictionlessly exit, or move our capital from one chain to the next. So that's what a bridge really does. It offers you that opportunity. And basically, the faster it is, the more secure it is, and so on, the better it is. And SHIDO has offered a very, very good software solution for these issues, right? So why is it useful? Different blockchains have different strengths and opportunities. And we as investors, as speculators, want to be able to bounce around to one chain to the next. Some are faster, some are cheaper, and some have cool apps and applications that we want to get involved in. And that's why we want our liquidity to be frictionless. We want to be able to easily move around. Now, one thing you have to understand is that whole concept allows a lot of opportunity, especially for newcomers coming into space. Newcomers don't want to deal with, lots of complex bells and whistles. They want things to run and execute easily. And that's obviously very beneficial for ecosystem growth, for market participation, and ultimately increasing the use of the chain. And that's what you really want to see for the retail market, is to start using the DeFi opportunities that these projects offer. Shido's definitely offering, right? So, and you can see this little graphic right here, right? So one chain right here with lots of apps, lots of opportunities, lots of different plays, whether it be DeFi or AI, gaming, whatever it is. And obviously, we have another chain, and they also have DeFi, gaming, this and that. And why not being able to bridge over your capital easily and seamlessly to one network to the next? And obviously, many networks out there offer more opportunity for bridges to exist. And here we are. We have the SHIDO bridge. So the SHIDO bridge is an interesting one because it enhances user experience, okay? Minimizing the need for complex steps transferring assets between chains. So as I mentioned before, the less friction, the better it is. We don't want friction. We don't want it to be as easy as possible for the newcomers of this space, for mass adoption to exist. We want it to be very, very, very frictionless. Okay, so seamless experiences, both adoptions and trust. Fees liquidity from chain bound. Basically, all our liquidity is basically frozen, or basically within the confines of one chain. We want to be able to exit those boundaries and become more fluid across various chains and cross-chain capabilities. So this is useful. Obviously, the SHIDO bridge allows that to happen. They have a lot of different capabilities, and we're going to talk about their network expansion because of this. Because if you think about it, a bridge expands their network. It expands the capabilities of being able to bridge over to different networks and use those networks as needed. A decentralized solution, it is obviously on-chain verification mechanisms using cryptographic proofs, integration into its DeFi tech stack. Obviously, its main value proposition, SHIDO's main value proposition, has always been its DeFi. And little by little, we're going to see a little bit more growth and perhaps a little bit diversification. But obviously, community-driven and DAO governance is a big part of the decentralization, and they got you covered with that regard. So that's obviously very beneficial to see a completely decentralized software solution within the space. But more importantly, when it comes to DeFi, it is very important to see that decentralization. Now, going on forward, decentralization obviously brings a level of security, and we're going to talk about security in a second, but I also want to talk about the network in itself, because you have to understand this is a very important part of the value proposition. Now, we know that EVM compatibility is very common in this space. EVM compatibility is probably the most common concept. And of course, SHIDO needs to keep up with competition and still be EVM compatible. So, which is the Ethereum virtual machine. The Solidity language that most projects out there right now, if they want to be EVM compatible, they need to be written in Solidity. Now, okay, SHIDO offers that as a base, as a, just to keep up with what's happening out there. That's very, very useful. But taking it to the next level, guys, right? WebAssembly. Okay, this is interesting to me. Okay, because WebAssembly is an up-and-coming concept, or up-and-coming programming standard from a syntax perspective, right? So it's a cross-chain platform, language agnostic, fast execution, which allows developers to build smart contracts in multiple languages and compile them in WASM, which is WebAssembly. And ultimately, WebAssembly has this value proposition, which is also frictionless. So you can program in pretty much any language, whether it be Rust or whatever the case may be, which we know that a lot of other projects right now in this space are derivatives of Rust in itself, which is interesting. So to see, SHIDO being able to absorb all these various contracts that are written in various languages, including, various like C++, for example, and Rust and so on. This is very useful because that means developers don't have to be trained and educated or fluent in particular languages, especially ones that are proprietary languages. You know, there are blockchains out there that require developers to learn specific languages in order to, build on their ecosystem. That's friction, and that's not something that you want for an ecosystem, for ecosystem growth. To promote ecosystem growth, you got to make it easy for the devs to deploy applications and smart contracts. So this encourages the developer base, basically, and cross-platform development. So I am really interested and to see the future of WASM and see how this flourishes and if it actually picks up within the space as a trend, because it should. You know, open source, very frictionless mentality. Now, if you think about that, if we're going to be able to build a lot of different smart contracts now with EVM, all Ethereum-based projects, which are it's the largest in Web3. All their tooling and all their various apps can easily be transferred over or utilized in this case. And then the WebAssembly, which is open source, pretty much frictionless programming. And then you have IBC, which is another one that has been hanging around this space, which is the inter-blockchain communication protocol. And this is something like what Cosmos uses, right? So it's a standard. It's a standard where all IBC type of projects essentially natively integrate with other IBC enabled ecosystems. So that way they can easily bypass the centralized bridges and create a secure, scalable cross-chain communication. And that's another implementation of saying, okay, we have a bridge. And not only do we have a bridge, but we support all these various interoperable standards. So IBC, WASM, and EVM. This is big. That if you think about it, it basically attracts a lot of various opportunities here in this space for depth of their ecosystem. And very, very interesting for sure. So for me, this is cool. And then, of course, the security, the multi-party computation. So basically, it's like key splits. This prevents single point of failure or key compromise by requiring distributed signing from multiple participants. It's almost like multi-sig in the sense where it requires multiple individuals to sign and ultimately not have one single point of failure. So that's a security measure that they've introduced here. The MPC module is central to securing assets cross-chain transfers. And then obviously audits, completely audits, guys. You know, they've taken their audits very seriously to ensure as a DeFi project that, you know, liquidity and people's capital is secure. So kudos to them for taking that measure. Ultimately, their bridge is quite interesting. And for me, it's the network implementation or the network effect that it definitely interests me the most. SHIDO's been cranking out lots of good updates, guys, and I'm going to be giving you a lot more in the next coming weeks regard to its ecosystem and all the different applications that are currently being built on SHIDO. And more importantly, how we could potentially be deploying tokens on SHIDO very easily with a few clicks. So very interesting stuff that's happening on SHIDO. All right, guys, so let's take a look at what's going on with SHIDO's price action. We know that the market in general, you know, Bitcoin has been going sideways, doing its thing, you know, and this usually gives the altcoins an opportunity to breathe and more importantly, catch up to Bitcoin's price action essentially. Now, if you look at what's happening with Ethereum in the last little while, Ethereum has been running up as well, giving us an indication that, you know, perhaps we should start seeing some of the other altcoins do well also, like the large caps and so on. But that won't happen until Ethereum gets into price discovery. So we start to think about, okay, where should we be allocating capital based on risk? And in this market cycle where we're at the current moment, we're looking for risk on, but at the same time, not taking too much risk, because ultimately we haven't gotten major signals of complete altcoin season. And when altcoin season does really come in full effect, we know that projects like SHIDO are going to take full advantage of all that capital flowing in, right? So let's take a look at the SHIDO chart here for a second to see if we can see how it's been performing, because a lot of the lower cap altcoins have been desperately looking for their floor price. And you can see that SHIDO has been in a little bit of a downtrend, but it doesn't mean that we cannot speculate on potential reversals here at these bottom levels. Now, what separates this current zone where we are right now with the previous structures of the past is volume. Now, the depth of this volume, you can see that there's a lot of, it's pretty wide. You can see that, you know, it's quite long, and ultimately it's been consolidating for a good while here, and then all of a sudden we come down for another dip. But look at the concentrated price action right into the zone. Look at the volume from right around here, which is about March all the way to now, how the increase of volume, market participation has come in hot. And at the same time, we are seeing that the price has been going sideways. Okay, so that should tell you something's interesting. Because look, last time we got that much volume was all the way back here. And last time that happened, we got massive sell-offs. Obviously, look at that huge sell-off right here. But as this is picking up with volume, we're going sideways, which means that volume could tell us, you know, perhaps we're getting into an accumulation phase because supply is now outperforming demand at the current moment. Demand right now is going, you know, potentially toe to toe with the supply, meaning that price is going sideways within a very tight range. Now you got to admit the market structure right here is looking pretty nice. Okay, given the fact that it got its accumulation, it's got its AMD structure, you know, a bit of accumulation, manipulation, and then distribution right back to the top. It even back tested the previous level for support once again, and it did, and it got a bounce, and now it's right here looking for a breakout. So the good news is this. The good news is that we're seeing SHIDO form a good level here of potential price action that suggests reversal. Okay, and we could take a look at oscillators real quick to kind of look at what this structure looks like. We're not really overbought just yet here on the daily time frame. Let's just quickly look. You can see the expansions coming in slowly right into here, and we didn't really get overbought in a big way just yet. We've gotten bearish in a big way, and we hung out in the bearish control zone for so long. We would expect a little bit of a stronger bullish response. And if you kind of look at what's happening here with these expansions leading from right around here, you can see that we've come down significantly. So what I want to see is a bullish response that's going to hang out here a little longer. You know, and obviously when that happens and we stay overbought a little longer than oversold, we should start cranking to the upside. But before I get bullish on you guys, let's take a look at the other oscillator here. This is looking okay. We finally grinded above the chop zone level, above the zero mark. We are in the bullish control zone, but we're definitely looking for an expansion. We haven't gotten a major expansion out of the bearish control zone yet. We've grinded to the upside very slowly, multiple drives of bullish divergence, and we are leaving the zero mark and potentially going for an expansion here. So the good news is that it's starting to look really interesting. Has it really gotten an expansion yet? No. Is it going to get its expansion soon? Maybe. But what I really am interested in, what is happening in this range? Guys, this range is the opportunity because your invalidation is very clear. Your invalidation is if it breaks below this bottom, and if it breaks below this bottom, things start to look pretty ugly. But at the current moment, if we start breaking out to the upside, guys, it's a breakout zone. This is a breakout moment. This is a moment to understand that, you know, people are looking, if it breaks above this, we confirm a higher high after a higher low, this would be classified as a change of character. Okay, so this is very important because a change of character is a reversal pattern. It's not a continuation pattern to the downside. If we break to the upside and sustain the move to the upside with volume, and you got to admit, we are getting volume into this range, you know, and we sustain this move to the upside and don't retrace heavily back within the structure, which is again dropping within this range, and we run up and flag and continue, guys, it's done. This thing reversed and it's too late. And of course, a lot of us are going to think, well, what's going to happen if Ethereum dips? Guys, well, it's going to dip. SHIDO will dip. All the altcoins will dip. And then we'll be really looking for those confirmation lows, those higher lows, and ensuring that we do not fall below these levels. Now, we could fall below this one and still maintain a bullish position as long as we don't fall below 0.0000106, this one right here. We're doing good, guys, and this is starting to look like a good accumulation range. However, again, if we break below this, this is going to be considered a bear flag, and we come down lower. So the question is, are we in an altcoin season? Should we be front running the lower cap altcoins, or should we be dabbling in slowly at every level that we see some support and structure suggesting reversal? Guys, I say the latter. I say instead of trying to be a hero and time the bottom, just DCA slowly, find good projects that have good fundamentals, teams that are working really hard, and basically scale into the structures that suggest reversal, and you can see that this right now, let me just kind of remove some of this artwork, is looking pretty good. Okay, so don't wait for the breakout. You know, any pullbacks, even into the discount zone, 50% retracement into this. Let's get rid of a little bit more here as much as I can without totally destroying all of this. Any retracements within this pump right here, and I'm going to expand this back, you know, gives you an opportunity. We have a little bit of an imbalance right here. If we can get down a little bit, you can scale in, but generally, guys, this range is an accumulation range. That's what all these goons are doing in here, as long as we don't fall below this bottom. All right, guys, so we did pretty good. This is not bad of a chart. This is not bad of a scenario for SHIDO. It's not bad of a scenario for the rest of the space to get risk on, and SHIDO's definitely on my watch list. Guys, if I've offered any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.